On behalf of Startup Odisha and OdishaLIVE, welcome to Startup Story. In the 6th edition of Startup Story, today we are delighted to host Asish Mohapatra, the founder, CEO of OfBusiness. World over, there are 800 or so internet businesses which have been given the metaphor of being unicorns. Unicorn is an internet company with a valuation of more than $1 billion. And out of the 800 globally, there are about 63 that come from India. Of these 63, 3 have a strong Odia connection. Asunto aji kotha haba Asish Mohapatrango sangre je off business ro pratisthata Juba Udyogi Asish, who is redefining the whole idea of technology, commerce and finance in a fast changing world of internet. Let's talk to Asish Mohapatra. आशीष स्वागत जनाऊँ स्टार्टअप स्टोरी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद दिल्ली रू एत बाट आसिले आम अनुरोध रक्षा करी किछि दिन तले गोटे खबर कागजर साक्षात्कार रे आपण कहितिले जे कटक परी गोटे छोट सहर रू आसीथिबा आपण जने साधारण मनीष सतरे कोन आपण जने साधारण मनीष
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी हियर सौभाग्यटा मोर आपण आम भाया बहुत लोकंक पई प्रेरणा सो हैप्पी टू बी चैटिंग विथ यू फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल साधारण असाधारण मनरे थाए मो हिसाब रे जदि जीए जेबे भी निजको असाधारण बोली भाबे तार जर्नीटा सेतिक बेले शेष हो जाए आमे सबु बेले साधारण वी आर ऑलवेज एट ग्राउंड जीरो इफ यू आर नॉट एट ग्राउंड जीरो यू विल नॉट ग्रो सो आई बिलीव दैट मु साधारण नुह साधारण टू कम जदि आपण मते पचारिबे मु छोट बेले कोन थिली आई विल टेल यू आई वाज लोअर मिडिल क्लास नॉट मिडिल क्लास आई वाज एक्चुअली मिडिल क्लास we were okay well-to-do family but I want to believe that I was lower middle class that is how dreams are made you have to think आपन भाबिया को पड़िबो कि आपन सब बेले तळे अछंती that's how I think about life in general तेणु
so you're talking about being rooted and being grounded
absolutely
आकाश को छुइबे किंतु माटी रे गोड़ रहिबो
सब बेले
आपन गोटे कथा
विंग सहित
हां विंग कथा हबा निश्चय केन आपन तो यूनिकॉर्न तेणु पक्षीराज घोड़ा रो लगाम आपण हाथ में रही तेणु विंग कथा तो निश्चय हवा आरंभ करवा कटक रे आपण एससीबी पब्लिक स्कूल पढ़िले तापरे आपण विभिन्न शिक्षा अनुष्ठान को गले जमती आईआईटी रे पाठ पढ़ी जमती आपण आईएसबी रे पाठ पढ़ी से कथा तो निश्चय हवा किंतु से जो कटक रो पिला बेल आपन को निश्चय बहुत भाव में प्रभावित करथिबो रघुर दहीबरा आलुदम निश्चय खाई बाली यात्रा को जाइथिबे चांदी मेढ़ देखा जाइथिबे ठुंका पूरी खाई अच्छा तो सही कटक रो पिला बेलर किछि स्मृति आम संगे तार से विषय किछि कहंतु स्मृति चारण करंतु एवं तापरे कहंतु किपरि भाव रे आपन पाठ पढ़ा से कटक शहर रु बाहरी की आगकु गला और किपरि भाव रे कटक रो प्रभाव आपन को ऊपर पड़छि
तो सर मु एक्चुअली जेतले बड़ हेली मु खड़गपुर रे बड़ हेली खड़गपुर आम कटक को आसिलु जेतोले मोर माने मु 10 कि 11 वर्ष थी तेणु माई ग्रोइंग अप इयर्स वर एक्चुअली स्पेंट इन खड़गपुर सो आई वाज एक्चुअली वेरी मूव्ड बाय यू नो खड़गपुर एज अ सिटी जेतो कटक को आसिली कटक वाज अ वेरी डिफरेंट प्लेस फॉर मी कटकटा इट इज अ लॉट मोर यूनाइटेड इट इज अ लॉट मोर बाउंड लोकंकर स्वप्न एठी एका लोकंकर स्वप्न एठी आर बाउंड बाय रियलिटी आपण जदि बाहर देखिए दे आर नॉट बाउंड बाय रियलिटी कटक रे मु जेतले आसिली मु देखली समस्तंकर एका जिनस करिया को चाहछन समस्ते राउरकेला जीवा को चाहछन पढ़िया पे समस्ते इन्फोसिस रे चाकरी करिया को चाहछन समस्ते सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर करिया को चाहछन सो दैट इज वन थिंग दैट आई सॉ इन कटक कि समस्ते इट वाज अ वेरी यू नो एवरीबॉडी हैड द सेम ड्रीम्स दैट वाज द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट स्ट्रक मी अबाउट कटक आपण जदि खड़गपुर रे जो मु बढ़ी थी माने आई स्पेंड माय फर्स्ट 10 इयर्स देयर सेठी देखिए किए डॉक्टर होगा चाहूँगी किए इंजीनियर होगा चाहूँगी किए बिजनेसमैन होगा चाहूँगी किए साइंटिस्ट होगा चाहूँगी बट इन कटक ड्रीम्स वर वेरी सिमिलर दैट्स द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट स्ट्रक मी द्वितीय जिनसटा मते कटक रे जोटा देखाला कि
वाज इट ड्रीम्स और वाज इट लैक ऑफ ड्रीम्स दैट यू फेल्ट
आई बिलीव दैट सो आई रियलाइज लेटर इन माय लाइफ दैट इट वाज अ यू नो इट वाज बाउंड तो मुझे जदि मु निजे छोट बेला कथा कहबी हैला कोन सर कि जेतले आमे पढुथुलु And I'll tell you my first memory of Cuttack. My first memory of Cuttack was the following. Class 3 रे आमर टीचर कहले कि आपण जाइकी सबु जाक डिज्नी रो कार्टून देखंतु काली आपन को एसे लिखार अछि ओके किए मिकी माउस देखिला किए डोनाल्ड डक देखिला सेतବେଳେ अलादीन बहुत पॉपुलर थिला किए अलादीन देखी के आसला मु एसबू देखिली कारण से फोटो तो हमको दिया जाइतला क्या पर एसे लिखार अछि ता पर दिन मु जेतल देखिली मु देखिली सेतळे सब जगह डिज्नी लिखाई छै तेणु मु अलादीन ऊपर रिसर्च कलिनी मु डिज्नी ऊपर रिसर्च कली मु रिसर्च कली कौन ना कि ये डिज्नी किए जोटा जहार ना सब जगह लिखाई छै
वॉल्ट डिज्नी कथा
वॉल्ट डिज्नी वॉल्ट डिज्नी आपण जानी परिबेनी ही वाज द बिगेस्ट एंटरप्रेन्योर दैट आई हैव नोन बिकॉज ही रोज थ्रू द ग्रेट डिप्रेशन एवरी एंटरप्रेन्योरल स्टोरी हैड massive tailwinds even apankar story has had massive tailwinds you are in the bang in the center of
but right now we are talking about your stories
my story also has tailwinds right but this is a guy who slipped into absolute penury mane se pura barbad hi jaithile in depression in the great depression and then the way he came out and the way he built media entertainment technology real estate into the business today is something which was unimaginable तेणु मु ता पर दिन जाई कि शहीद नगर लाइब्रेरी मोर एबे भी मन अछि हम स्कूल रास्ता रे पढ़थला सेठी जाकी पढ़ी कि ता पर दिन जत वॉल्ट डिज्नी ऊपर एसे रे कहली पीपल वेर दे डिडंट एक्सेप्ट इट लोक कहले पागल हो जाई छै के कहूची मिकी माउस
कार्टून ऊपर ऐसे लखी
दिस इज क्लास 3 मिकी माउस डोनाल्ड डक एमिति कहूची मिकी माउस हमर सांग मिनी माउस हमर भोणी स्टफ लाइक आई स्पोक अबाउट वॉल्ट डिज्नी Walt Disney won 53 Academy Awards as an individual. Nobody knows that. People remember Tom Hanks, 2 award, Audrey Hepburn, 3 award, Catherine Hepburn, 4 award. Walt Disney, 53 awards. Say jo jinsata I found missing in Cuttack. So dreams were bound. And hence in my childhood, I immersed myself in learning what was happening in the world. Because of these incidents that happened, I actually came to the fact that कि दुनिया टा बहुत बड़ा
आपण जो खड़गपुर कथा कहले खड़गपुर रे बापा माँ थिले
खड़गपुर रे बापा माँ 2 जण पीएचडी करथले मोर बापा पीएचडी करूथले एग्रीकल्चर रे मोर माँ पीएचडी करथले फिजिक्स रे एंड दे डिड नॉट हैव एन ओवरलैप आ से 2 जण को पीएचडी टाइम रे मु तांको सहित खड़गपुर रे थिली
तेणु आपण कैंपस रे थिले खड़गपुर रो जो कैंपस तार गोटे प्रभाव आपण ऊपर पड़िला
डेफिनेटली
आ सेठु जेतेबेला आपण कटक आसिले आपण गोटे सीमित परिधि भितर निजको देखिले आ यू ट्राइड टू ब्रेक आउट ऑफ इट and you
I
are
broke out of it in my mind.
Yes.
It is very important to first break out of in your mind. To be honest with you, खड़गपुर रे आपण जदी जिबे खड़गपुर रे आपण देखिबे 3टा जिंस इज कॉमन अक्रॉस पीपल इन फैक्ट इट इज आईआईटी खड़गपुर's लोगो इट सेज ड्रीम माने स्वप्न हार्ड वर्क माने परिश्रम आ पेशेंस माने धैर्य ए 3टा जिंस बहुत दरकार मु जेत कटक को आसिली आई रियलाइज्ड that the last 2 are there परिश्रम करूचंदी लोक धैर्य बहुत इनफैक्ट सेठी जहाँ मुझे देखिली ताटू अधिका देखिली किंतु स्वप्न सीमित देखिली मु
ई कथारू जिबा आपण को पाठ पढ़ा दिन आपण एससीबी स्कूल रु आईआईटी गले तापरे आईएसबी गले एंड इन बिटवीन यू आल्सो वर्कड ओके सो सेठू किपरि भाबरे आपण 3टी बेस्ट जनाशुना संस्था रे काम करचंती आईटीसी रु जीवन आरंभ करथिले आपण मैकिन्जी गले शेष रे आपण मैट्रिक्स को गले ऑफ बिजनेस आरंभ होवा आगरु सेही समय कथा टिके कहंतु तापरे आसीबा ऑफ बिजनेस कथा बा
सर देखंतु मो पे मु हेली ओडिया छुआ ओडिया माटी रो छुआ ओडिया रे हमर समस्ते कहंती कोन ना आग निजर तमे फाउंडेशन बनै दियो तापरे जहा करिवा कथा कर तेणु फाउंडेशन बनिया पे 3टी जिंस दरकार सर प्रथम है आपणकर एतिकी धन दरकार कि आपणकर 7 पुरुष आराम रे रही परिबे सो आई फोकस्ड ऑन दैट आई वाज अ रिच मैन द्वितीय आपणकर दरकार कि आपणकर स्किल्स हवा कथा जदि जल्दी आपण को जिंस को आरंभ करिवे ताहले हबो कोन आपण फेलियर रो चांस अधिका रहिबो मो पे फेलियर सर ऑप्शन नथला बिकॉज आई ड्रीम वेरी बिग मु आपण गोटे कहानी कहूची सेही टाइम रे मु आई वाज अ हेल्थ केयर फार्मास्यूटिकल गाय आई यूज्ड टू बी a big fan of this guy called Velumani, who was the promoter of Thyrocare. Thyrocare से भी बिकी देले फार्मेसी को तांकर गोटे मु वीडियो देखिथिली sometime early in my professional career सेतर से कहिथिले कि आपण जदि गोटे ड्रीम रखिबे कि जहा नंबर नेबे सेतर गोटे 0 लगे दियंतु 100 कोटी रेवेन्यू अच्छी 1000 करंतु 1000 कोटी रेवेन्यू अच्छी 10,000 करंतु 100 लोक काम करछंती तांको आपण 1000 लोक भावंतु then you will be a great man. My dream was to add 2 zeros.
Very good, excellent, very well said.
It has always been my dream till I realized when I actually got people who were hungrier than me jahankar bhoko motu अधिका थिला ता भीतर भी ओडिया छुआ अछंती से माने तो कहले सर आपण दुईटा जीरो पर फोकस करंतु मु तृतीय जीरो नै के आसीबी. That is how I have lived my life. That always think big. For thinking big, you need 3 things. One, you need to be well off so that you are not worried about roti kapda makan. Second, you need to have the skills. माने मु आपन सहित एबे कथार्ता होची I should be well versed in communication techniques. If not, we will not have a great time. Third, you should have the ability that you have seen it elsewhere. देखो तो सबू जिनस निजे करिकी जदि आपण चेष्टा करिवे ताले फेल मारिवे. दुनिया रे बहुत किछि ऑलरेडी हे जाइछि. You need that time. In my opinion, the reason I moved from one vocation to another, मु किछि व्यवसाय मु as a kid भी करथिली just to know how does it work. I in fact ran an NGO also for some time just to know how does charity work because someday I will do that. But I became a consultant because I wanted to be in a boardroom. I became an investor because I wanted to play with money. If you can't play with a lot of money, you will never make a lot of money. And then you can't make societal impact.
So let's talk about how you, from your McKinsey to Matrix, how did you move from Matrix to become the entrepreneur that you are? And tell us about OfBusiness. OfBusiness विषय बाहर लोक मोर मन हुए ओडिया अपेक्षा अधिका जानी ओडिशावासी को टिके आपण OfBusiness संस्था किपरि हैला OfBusiness रो बिजनेसटा कौन मॉडलटा कौन टिके बुझे कि कहंतु ता आगु कहतु सुंदर नाटा देले केमती ना पछरे कहानीटा कौन.
ओके ना पछरे सर कहानी हैला कि माने आई वाज अ स्टूडेंट ऑफ हिस्ट्री. वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट लेसन्स एंड स्पीचेस इन हिस्ट्री दैट आई रियली लाइक इज अब्राहम लिंकन्स गेटिसबर्ग एड्रेस. गेटिसबर्ग एड्रेस रे कोन हेतला सर कि जेतो सिविल वार सरीला अमेरिका रे से गोटे स्पीच देथिले. इट लास्टेड लिटिल अबव 2 मिनिट्स. सेथरे द स्पीच एंड्स विथ समथिंग व्हिच इज वेरी फेमस. इट सेज a nation that is by the people,
of the people,
for the people shall not perish from the earth. So this line actually became so part of what I am as a person. I believe that everything should be about people, everything should be about the nation finally and all that, that I wanted to have something that actually encapsulates all these 3 words. So I tried very hard. So of business, OF is off. And because we are in the business of commerce, it also stands for order for. So
okay,
it has for.
Order for business. Okay.
And because it is a B2B company, I'll explain ame kon koru. Because it is a B2B company, it also has order from. So the 3 words in my mind was a tribute to Abraham Lincoln. That's
Very
how
nice.
मजा कथा ये कि बहुत लोग भावंती कि आमे ताको ऑफ बिजनेस माने OFF बिजनेस बोली कोठी भी बिजनेस बंद करिया पे. But the reality is that that's how we started.
Well,
Okay.
very nice name. Very nice name.
Thank you
very
very much.
appropriate name and very evocative name.
So आमे कौन करू. My entire academic as well as professional career was actually spent in smaller companies. छोटो कंपनी माने नॉन कॉर्पोरेट्स. जैसे आपण माइंट्री रे थिले नॉट माइंट्री इज अ लार्ज कॉर्पोरेट बट अ स्मॉल सॉफ्टवेयर कंपनी, अ स्मॉल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेटअप, गोटे छोटो ठेकेदार माने कॉन्ट्रैक्टर. दिस इज द फैट मिडल ऑफ इंडियाज इकोनॉमी व्हिच इज नॉन कॉर्पोरेट्स. कॉर्पोरेट्स probably account for about 20 to 25% of India's GDP. 70 to 75% is contributed by non-corporates, people who are probably in the turnover range of धरंतु 20 कोटी रु
जो उनको हम SME कहबा.
SME or mid-tier corporates. SMEs typically get capped out at 500 crores. ए माने 1,500 कोटी 2,000 कोटी जाए. Right? That's the fat Indian middle. एमानंकु सर गोटे प्रॉब्लम हुए. प्रॉब्लम कौन हुए? प्रॉब्लम प्रथम हैला वर्किंग कैपिटल प्रॉब्लम. If they want to grow, they need capital. Banks are limited. Banks will ask for collateral and stuff like that. So they are limited by capital. And nobody sees them as a sunrise sector part. तेणु इक्विटी आसेनी, निवेश हुए नहीं, ऋण आसेनी. So they are reliant on the intermediary economy. कोटा intermediary economy, distributor, trader, एमानंको ठु पैसा नहीं कि सेमाने ताको धंदा चलांती. Distributor, trader, obviously in my opinion they have ruled the country. because they actually rule India's middle class. ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ ପଇସା ବନାନ୍ତି ଏମାନଙ୍କୁ ମିଳେନି କିଛି. So first is devoid of working capital. Second is most of this working capital is actually provided in the form of raw materials. Raw materials କ'ଣ steel, cement, polymer, paper, industrial chemical, ବଡ଼ ବଡ଼ ମାନେ ଯେଉଁଟା ଭର୍ତ୍ତି ହେଇକି ଗାଡ଼ିରେ ଯାଏ, ଫୁଲ୍ ଟ୍ରକଲୋଡ଼ରେ ଯାଏ, ସେଇଗୁଡ଼ା ହିଁ ସେମାନେ ତାର ସପ୍ଲାଏ କରିକି ସେଇଟା କ୍ରେଡ଼ିଟ୍ ଟର୍ମରେ ଦେଇକି ସେମାନେ କ'ଣ କରନ୍ତି କି ଏ ଯେଉଁ ଫ୍ୟାଟ୍ ମିଡିଲକୁ ସ୍କୁଇଜ୍ କରିଦିଅନ୍ତି, ମାନେ ଯେତିକି ତାର ଅଛି ଲିକ୍ୱିଡ଼ ସବୁ ବାହାର କରିଦିଅନ୍ତି. ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ କିଛି ପଇସା ବନାନ୍ତିନି. whereas the employment is actually done by that sector. I wanted to create a impact here because I had traded between SMEs, I had run a few SMEs, I had invested in SMEs. I knew that this was this problem. So I believed that कि जणे जदि आसे कि institutionally जणे जदि आसे कि financial power नहीं कि technology नहीं कि आसे कि हमको working capital भी दे परिबो और सही तरह material भी दे परिबो, you actually solve that core problem. So whereas before we come in, only about 20-30% was being provided by banks and 70-80% was being provided by the trader. We came and said, okay, we will be a costlier option to the bank, but a much cheaper option to the trader. But we'll give you raw materials which are cheaper. So even if you're paying me interest because I'm providing you capital, working capital, you save on the raw material cost. ତେଣୁ ଏ ଦୁଇଟା ଜିନିଷର ମାନେ ସଙ୍ଗମ ଯଦି କହିବେ କରିକି ଆମେ ଧନ୍ଦାକୁ ବନେଇଲୁ. ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଅ ଭେରି ଡିଫିକଲ୍ଟ ବିଜନେସ୍ ମଡେଲ୍ ବାଇ ଦ ୱେ. ଦ ରିଜନ୍ ଇଟ୍ସ ଅ ଡିଫିକଲ୍ଟ ବିଜନେସ୍ ମଡେଲ୍ ଇଜ୍ ବିକଜ୍ ଆଟ୍ ୱାନ୍ ଏଣ୍ଡ ଆପଣଙ୍କର କମର୍ସ ଅଛି, ବାଣିଜ୍ୟ ଅଛି, ଆଟ୍ ଦ ଅଦର ଏଣ୍ଡ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଫାଇନାନ୍ସିଂ ଅଛି. ବୋଥ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଦେମ୍ ଆର୍ ଭେରି ଭେରି ଡିଫିକଲ୍ଟ ବିଜନେସେସ୍ ଦେମସେଲ୍ଭସ୍. ସୋ ଟୁ କମ୍ବାଇନ୍ ଦେମ୍ ଅଣ୍ଡର ୱାନ୍ ହାଉସ୍ and to say, hey, I'll not give you money, I'll give you raw materials in exchange, has never been attempted globally. ତେଣୁ ଆରମ୍ଭରେ ମୁସ୍କିଲ ଥିଲା କିନ୍ତୁ ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ life has gotten easier.
But you know, there's something very interesting about your business, and I was reading more and more about your company. It occurred to me that your company's three strong pillars are three B's. You know, you buy from me, you borrow from me, and you belong to me.
Yeah. ବିଲଙ୍ଗଟା ପରେ ଯୋଡ଼ିଲା, ବଟ୍ ବିଲଙ୍ଗ ବି ଆମେ ନିଜେ ହିଁ କରୁ. वी इनफैक्ट गिव देम ऑर्डर्स टुडे. मार्केटिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी माने सेमानकर जो टेंडर करके गवर्नमेंट रू जो आनती टेंडर सेटा भी आमरी साइट पर ही से माने बिड करंती, सेटारे आम साइट रे ही से माने आसिकी टेंडर खोजंती. सो वी दे बिलोंग टू मी बिकॉज दे फाइंड आउट देयर रेवेन्यू अपॉर्चुनिटीज थ्रू मी. दे बोरो फ्रॉम मी बिकॉज आई एम द नेक्स्ट बेस्ट ऑप्शन टू बैंक्स, बट दे ऑल्सो बाय फ्रॉम मी because I'm way cheaper than the intermediary economy.
And that belongingness is about also stickiness, so that they don't go away from you. Now the question is, आपण माने जेतले आरंभ करथिले 7 जण co-founder आपण 7 जण मिसी के कंपनी आरंभ करे को चाहिथिले, and I read somewhere जे आपण जेतले venture capital raise करे को चाहिथिले, आज अवश्य आपण यूनिकॉर्न सुनिछि 10,000 कोटी टंका आपण को वैल्यूएशन, बट जेतले आरंभ करे को चाहिथिले 73 थर आपन को निराश होगा पड़ता. आपनकर जितेबाला टंका विभिन्न पुंजीनिवेशकारी मान पाखु गले, दे थ्रू यू आउट 73 times. Is that a real story? Is that really true?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, it actually is. It's true and false in the way that the first time that we went, we actually had it very easy. कारण आमे जो 7 जण थिलु, we were all from decent pedigreed academic backgrounds. तेणु प्रथमे जो पैसाटा आसला, that was very easy.
That was matrix.
That was matrix. In fact, we had
आपण काम करथले सेठी, सेमाने आपण चिन्हिथिले, सेमाने कहले मो पाखरे ही कर कामटा काहे के अलगा के जाउछ.
Exactly. किंतु द्वितीय थर जेतले बिजनेस एक्चुअली हे जाइथिला, the number of rejections that we faced was 73. The reason for that कि आमे जो भाषारे पुंजीपति पाखक गलु, आमे जो भाषारे कहलु से माने सेटा सुनी ही नथिले, से माने सेटा सुनिबा को चाहू ही नथिले. तार कारण कोन? आमे कहलु आमे प्रॉफिट बनेबु. आमे ऑलरेडी प्रॉफिटेबल थिलु सप्तम मासरु.
So profitability was not fashionable. They
wanted, no, not at all.
Yeah, they wanted valuation. They wanted
you to burn money so that you can run after scale.
The capacity to spend is what they wanted to see.
Exactly, capacity to spend, to deploy and stuff like that. जेबे कि आमे तो लोअर मिडिल क्लास छुआ, आमे तो कटक छुआ. कटक रे प्रथमे कुआ जाए कि घरे पैसा बंचिले ही आर मास चलिबो. So for us, we were from a very savings mindset. So profitability ran in our blood. So the moment we said, okay, we will try to make 0.2, 0.3%, these were early days of margin after tax, people said, oh, okay, these guys are going to sacrifice scale for profitability. The second thing that happened is that सेमाने कहले कि एटा आउ कोठी दुनिया रे हिची, चाइना रे हिची कि अमेरिका रे हिची कि. सो सेमानकर दरकार थिला कि अमेरिका रे ए कंपनीटा एते बड़ हि जाईची, आपण सेहिति पई इंडिया रे बनौचंती. ओला बनाउछंती which is the Uber of USA फ्लिपकार्ट बनैले जोटा हला Amazon of USA आमे कहलु नाही एटा हला भारतर माटीर प्रॉब्लम भारत भितर जेते आपण डेवलपिंग स्टेट्स को जिबे सेठी आउरी बडो प्रॉब्लम अंडर डेवलप्ड रे एटा ही हला ओनली सॉल्यूशन वी सेड वी विल ट्रैवल इन बसेस in trains with dirty shoes.
Absolutely. So now the question that comes to my mind is, apna bartaman you are 40 years old.
That's right. Sharp 40.
हाँ तो 7 वर्ष तले अपना कंपनी आरंभ करथिले.
5.5 years back.
2014, 2015?
2015 October I left Matrix. Okay. 2016 February we started.
Okay, so less than 7 years.
Less than 6 years.
Less than 6 years. Okay. So 6 वर्ष तल कथा. Now you were just about 33. 33 वर्षर आपण हाँ ठीक अच्छे आपण ISB रु पढ़ी आपण ITC McKinsey Matrix रे काम करथिले तथापि you are 33 33 वर्ष बयस. How do you deal with rejection जेतबेले लोक कहउछन no you know it doesn't make sense, okay? And you are hell bent on trying to start a business, and I believe your co-founders didn't even have a full-fledged idea. They were basically signing up on the basis
on
of
blind
strength,
trust on me,
blind trust on you. So when you have such huge rejection, what does it do to you? Because at that age we are not used to rejection. We don't like rejection.
That is where I think Odia upbringing helped me. I will be honest with you.
That's very counterintuitive.
No, but I will tell you, as an Odia, the first rejection that I faced in my life when I went outside, I remember I went for some maths competition when I was in class 6. षष्ठ श्रेणी रे I went to Delhi. I was representing our district. I couldn't speak a word of Hindi, and I could see people didn't speak to me. When you face rejection at such an early age, it becomes a part of you. You can take rejections in two ways. One is you say, okay, rejection hela, let me just retreat into a shell. और दूसरा है आपनकर कि आपन rejection ही जाइछि, you just want to beat it black and blue. If you are dreaming, जदि आपनक भितरे हंगर अछि, आपनक भितरे परिश्रम हार्डवर्क हसल करिया को अछि, आ आपनक भितरे धैर्य अछि, rejections don't matter. In fact, you welcome rejections. मु आपन कहूछि भाषा परे what happened to me is that I actually did not start in SCB Medical Public School. I actually started in Cambridge School, which was a much smaller school because I had moved from Kharagpur within a session. Jetal mu etika asili Cambridge School, which was a much smaller school, and I moved from there to SCB. I got rejection again, right? And people used to look down upon me, saying that यार Cambridge School छुआ कौन कर दो? माने मो मुंडरे असला कि जदि से माने एया कहउचंती, okay, I want all of them to salute me within 2 months, 3 months, whenever the next exams are. जेतोले मु सेठू बाहर की SCB मेडिकल लु गली रेवेन्शा कॉलेज रु स्टुअर्ट स्कूल छुआ थिले. Stuart School was the most renowned school of Cuttack. I went there, and when I went from SCB Medical School, which is a boutique school, I again faced rejection. From Ravenshaw, I went to IIT. Odias were looked down upon because they used to always gather in like it was like a ghetto. I said, okay, we'll beat you black and blue in 6 months. So it's a part and parcel of growing up. According to me, if you're born with riches, if you're born with silver spoon in your mouth, you cannot give it away. But if you're born with a...
You have nothing to lose.
You have nothing to lose. You go for it. As long as you dream, you are ready to hustle, and you are ready to wait.
ये जो आपण ऑफ बिजनेस तैयारी कले वर्तमान 750 टू भी अधिक लोक काम करछंती ऑफ बिजनेस रे 823 वेरी नाइस कांग्रेचुलेशंस 2000 कोटी रु ऊर्ध्व आपनकर रेवेन्यू 2000 कोटी रु ऊर्ध्व आपण
सर 2000 कोटी लास्ट ईयर थिला करंटली जदी आपण देखिबे तर वी आर एट अ रन रेट ऑफ क्लोज टू अबाउट 9600 crores.
एक्सीलेंट. एंड व्हाट अबाउट द लोन डिसबर्समेंट?
ओके हमर दीटा बिजनेस सर गोटे हला कॉमर्स बिजनेस आउ गोटे हला हमर फाइनेंसिंग बिजनेस. दे बोथ टॉक टू ईच अदर माने से दीटा का सर्विस हमें ग्राहक को दो किंतु दे आर इंडिपेंडेंट कंपनीज. नंबर्स आर एडिटिव. आपण जदी देखिबे ताले हमर जो कॉमर्स कंपनी रे हमर हाराहारी रेवेन्यू रो रन रेट जोटा सेटा 8000 कोटी पाखा पाखी. द फाइनेंसिंग कंपनी डज अबाउट 1600 crores ऑन अ मंथली इनटू 12 माने रन रेट बेसिस रे. Both companies are independently growing. Commerce is growing by about 4 to 5x year on year, and financing is growing by about 80 to 90% year on year.
यही संस्था तैयारी करिबारे 5 वर्ष भितरे एडे बड़ संस्था आपण ठिया करिसंती 800 ऊपर लोक काम करछंती वन ऑफ द बेस्ट क्वालिफाइड पीपल वर्क फॉर यू एंड यू हैव द choicest marquee names in venture capital that backing you. What are the 3 or 4 things that stand out in terms of what you focused on in creating this organization जोटा आमर आजिर युवपीढ़ी को अनुप्राणित करिवो जो माने नुआ नुआ स्टार्टअप तैयारी करछंती उद्योग तैयारी करछंती and we tend to romanticize. So what are some of the things that you really hunkered down on to be able to build this business in this record time?
Sir, record nuhe. We will create the record. So we are still ground zero. First is business is about people.
What's the record you will create? Is it something breaking news on the horizon about to?
In a couple of weeks.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So is this a story about the 3.5 billion valuation?
That may be a thing of the past.
Okay.
You know, sir, prathame hela, I think the simplicity of creating a business is what gets lost in grandeur. Se simplicity ta ko aniba ame jemiti ba apam ବ୍ୟବସାୟ କରିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛୁ that is very important. So ପ୍ରଥମେ business is about people. ଲୋକ ନେଇକି ହିଁ business ହୁଏ. ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ କ'ଣ ଦରକାର? ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଦରକାର ମଜା, ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଦରକାର ଗ୍ରୋଥ, ପ୍ରସ୍ପେରିଟି, ଆଉ ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ ଦରକାର ରେସ୍ପେକ୍ଟ. You have to give all 3.
Fun, prosperity and respect.
You have to give. If you are giving 2 out of these 3, you are a good business. If you are giving 1 out of these 3, you are an average business. If you are giving 3 out of 3, you are a great business. Nobody can stop you. So, prathame hela about people. Second is about process. Process रे कौन दरकार सर कि देखो तो everything has to have a rule. If not a rule, a convention. If not a convention, a way, a norm of doing things. Everything has to be done in a set way. Indians love doing jugaad. Jugaad is great. Jugaad is how innovation comes in. किंतु जुगाड़ हेई साला परे a process has to be born out of that jugaad. We believe that you can do things differently. आपण प्रथमे करंतु, द्वितीय थर करंतु, आपण अलगा करंतु, no problem. But once you've done it twice and you've seen a trend, आपण तार process बनाନ୍ତୁ. So first है people.
That sounds like McKinsey.
I was a McKinsey consultant, a poor one because I went there for skills, but
no, you are absolutely right because it is the methodology, it is capturing the process, the how-to, and then how do you actually fractalize that and how do you make social memory out of it?
Yeah, because see, you can create great people. So we have out of our 23 guys, most of them about 600 plus are freshers. They are toppers from their colleges. They will always think of a new way. But to push them, to processize them, to modularize that is when the company starts becoming greater than the individual. Now, trutiyata hela BP, trutiyata hela paisa. At the end of the day, the currency of businesses is money, especially when you are looking at heavy growth. It's not about raising money. It's about how you treat money.
So give us your take on how a successful entrepreneur like you looks at money. What does money mean to you? How do you treat money in a personal and in a professional sense?
So, sir, mo pe professionally money is responsibility, and personally money is about keeping score. So I'll tell you both. So professionally money is responsibility because मते जाने जदि पैसा देइछि धरंतु मो कंपनी भी मते देइछि. It may be profits that my company is giving. It may be my lenders giving me money. It may be my investors, निवेशक माने मते पैसा देइछंती. For me that is responsibility because I have to grow it. I have to distribute it. I have to make sure I have to grow it in a healthy way. एमिति हो के आज मु ग्रो करी गली 3-4 गुण ता पर वर्ष बसी गली. So it has to be a continuous growth. With that money I have to create an institution. तेणु professionally मते लागे सर जे पैसाटा आपन पाखे अछि it is a source of responsibility, and the bigger the sum that you have, and I can tell you because I have raised capital 8 times now, the bigger the money that comes in, the bigger is the responsibility. And once you have that feeling, you treat it with respect, you treat it with affection, you treat it with love. For me, professionally, that is what money is about. Jodi personally kahibe, for me it is about keeping score. Dekhantu, ame jo middle class ro loko, we don't have very big needs. Beyond a point you can't spend. and to get to a spending level that is comfortable. Luxury kahare darkar nahi. If you are luxurious, you probably won't make it big in life anyways. So comfort पे ही money बहुत कम रे चली जाए. Beyond that, it is about keeping score. कि आपण कौन करिले, केते बड़ हे पारले. Because at the end of the day, money that you make personally belongs to the society. You have to give it back, or else your legacy will die. You may be a rich man, but if you didn't give back to the society, you will die poor. तेणु पर्सनली इट इज अबाउट कीपिंग स्कोर. आप बिरला को देखो, टाटा को देखो, दे आर मोर नोन नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ द लैंड बैंक्स दैट दे हैव, बिकॉज ऑफ देयर फैट बैंक अकाउंट्स दैट दे हैव. दे आर नोन बिकॉज दे मेड इट बिग एंड गेव इट बैक.
So it's all about reputational capital at the end of the day.
It is. That's what you go away with.
Yeah. So गोटे कथा आपण कहतु जे कोविड गोटे एते गोटे निराशार समय थिला. Was a very dark period. इमोशनली गोटे नैराश्य आसी जाइथिला. आ अर्थनैतिक अवस्था तो बहुत खराब हो जाइथिला, पर्टिकुलरली आपण जो सेगमेंट रे काम करंती. आ एई समय भितरे आपणकर वैल्यूएशन कोठू कोठी कोठी गला. And more than the valuation, it is about जो माने पूंजी निवेश कले, they see promise in you and they also see promise in the future. किंतु से समय भितर जो आपण फंड रेज करचंती, चारिआडे गोटे लैक ऑफ ऑप्टिमिज्म रही, निराशावाद रही. से समय रे मु देखी आपण कोविड समय कोविड रिलेटेड बहुत थोड़ा ब्लॉग रे आपने इश्यूज लिखिचंती. प्रश्न होची जे एपरी गोटे परिस्थिति रे, एटा शेष थर नुह जे कोविड परि गोटे परिस्थिति आछी, आगु हुए तो एपरी हेई पारे. एपरी समय रे आपण व्यक्तिगत एवं आपणकर व्यावसायिक, हाउ डू यू कीप द person in you and the business in a state of harmony, in a state of assurance?
First of all, sir, it is very tough. किंतु आपण जदि एई भावना रे ताकू देखिबे कि everything that is tough has an opportunity, ताहले you can actually make a lot of progress through it. देखंतु आम केस रे कोन हितिला, while there is this hoopla that there is this big negative calamity that happened, first of all, it was known well in advance. I think a lot of businesses lost out. गुड़ाए व्यवसाय बहुत देरी रे रिएक्ट कले. By the middle of January 2020, it was known that a black swan event is hitting the world. China रे Wuhan बंद हो जाइतला. Most of Chinese provinces had actually declared emergencies. This is middle of Jan. Most people reacted very late. प्रथम कथा जो माने react late कले से माने बहुत जल्दी खत्म हो गए. And that is where the opportunity arose, because so many people died down so very fast, especially in the first quarter of last financial year, that it gave you an opportunity. Second, तेणु आपको रिएक्ट करें पड़ो. यू हैव टू रिएक्ट अर्ली. यू हैव टू हैव लीडिंग इंडिकेटर्स इन ए बिजनेस, नॉट लैगिंग इंडिकेटर्स. आपको आगुरी जानिया पड़ो और रिएक्ट करें पड़ो. सेकेंड इज ड्यूरिंग कोविड किछि बिजनेस मॉडल गुड़ा सक्सेसफुल हो गए, बहुत सक्सेसफुल हो गए. आप देखो गेमिंग, एट होम एंटरटेनमेंट, एजुकेशन टेक्नोलॉजी, सेम होल्ड्स ट्रू फॉर अस. बिकॉज व्हाट हैपेंड कि आम पे व्हाइल इट सीम्स लाइक इट वाज अ ग्रेट कैलामिटी, but it was not. आमर तीनिटा बड़ जिनस हो गला आमर बिजनेस रे. प्रथम and we had to engineer some of it. All the big guys who are in this ecosystem, including offline players. प्रथम हैला कोन ना कि जो व्यवसाय जाउथला चाइना को, साउथ ईस्ट एशिया को, इंडोनेशिया, लाओस, कैम्बोडिया, वियतनाम, म्यांमार, that stopped. Global corridors stopped, because of which the commerce, which was a globalized phenomenon, supply chains were global in nature, they became local in nature. मु जदि किणुथिली माल चाइना रु कि मु किणुथिली माल धरंतु इंडोनेशिया रु, I can't trust him. I don't know whether he can transport. So I went to the guy who was nearby. जे मो घर पाखे बसची तापाकू गली. So COVID actually saw a reverse trend of saying that globalization has become localization. तेणु प्रथमे हैला कोन, all Indian players stood up. So there was a large demand for our kind of services, because things that you were bringing in from imports, you just couldn't. Second, आमर जो हाउसहोल्ड आइटम्स आप देखो, मु दिल्ली रे रुहे, तेणु दिल्ली रे पालिका बाजार, गफार मार्केट, जीवे मेड इन ताइवान, मेड इन चाइना, मेड इन ये से सबू खत्म हो गला. से सबू खत्म हो गला हाउस होल्ड आइटम्स स्टार्टेड कमिंग इन फ्रॉम एसएमईज इन इंडिया फ्रॉम इंडियन कंपनीज गोटे बड़ हाउस होल्ड डिमांड जोटा टॉयज हाउस होल्ड अप्लायंसेस किचन वेयर जोटा इंडिया रे नथिला एंड दोज कंपनीज हैड डाइड डाउन दैट सडनली केम बैक सो देयर वाज ग्लोबलाइजेशन वर्सेस लोकलाइजेशन प्लस देयर वाज कंज्यूमराइजेशन और तृतीय कौन है कि कोविड रे आपण देखिए लोक माने बेमार पड़ुले कि मरी जाउथला द गुड न्यूज दैट वाज हैपनिंग वाज लार्जली अराउंड न्यू एज कंपनीज ये एते पैसा उठे देला ये एते ग्रो करिगला आपण मोर कहानी सुनले 4 गुण हो गला द गुड न्यूज वाज कमिंग फ्रॉम न्यू एज कंपनीज हेंस द एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ न्यू एज कंपनीज वेंट थ्रू द रूफ मु आपन कहूची 2-3 वर्ष आगु मु जदी कहबी कि मु ऑफ बिजनेस रो कॉल करची लोक फोन पटै दोतले पटकै
दोतले so now you're legitimate, you're mainstream, you are the cool thing
because they read about us in the papers, they see us in this show, and then hence the acceptance has just gone through the roof. So ये तीनटा को जदी देखिबे globalization leading to localization, consumerization coming back to India or by Indian companies, and the third being acceptance. आमो business रे tailwind आसीगला. The smaller ones all died out, but there was a high flight to quality. जी बड़ थिला क्वालिटी सर्विसेज दउथला ग्राहक मान को सैटिस्फाई करके रखुतला दे बिकेम मच लार्जर
but you sound like an economist. I want you to talk as if you're in the boiler room and you know the first lockdown has been announced and there are millions of people who have taken to the street. It's bleak news that you are seeing everywhere. You've been through that and you are still a startup. You know, you may be a unicorn, but
I wasn't a unicorn then.
Unicorn in the making. Okay, so it would have caused you uncertainty. It would have caused you loneliness. It would have caused you some sense of despair. Maybe, may not be. I do not know that. But so my question to you is that there must have been a degree of difficulty. Looking back now, it all looks like good stuff. So when that difficulty happened, you would have done something, you would have told yourself something to make sure that you have the equilibrium and the organization is watching you and the organization as a result has that equilibrium. So my question to you is, how do you do that?
For me, it is about going to the same 3 P's that we spoke about. I think businesses that lost out, or for that matter, anybody that lost out, was because they lost trust in their own people. People started firing people, people started cutting down wages, people started deferring wages. First thing that we did was to, it was very tough because you know revenue did stop for about a month. April had no revenue at all. And April le amara आमदनी zero थिला, खर्च तो थिला. तेणु लोक कौन कले मार्केट रे खर्च काटिले, प्रथमे लोकों को खर्च काटिले. We consciously said that there are some costs that are strategic in nature that will not cost and that will not cut, and that is people cost. Because once people are fired up, they will run illogically. They will find out solutions for you. It is about probably the fact that we started at the right side of 30, right side of 30 being above 30, right? I don't believe that higher than 30 is the wrong side because we had seen that. ମୁଁ 2008 ରେ भी देखिଥିଲି एटा. ମୁଁ 2001 रे भी देखिଥିଲି because I used to be a trader in some small businesses back then. तेणु I knew that conserving people was critical. It was difficult. Because the cost was hitting you in the balance sheet, but it needed that discipline से अनुशासन दरकार थिला कि आपण कहिबे न people are an investment not an expense. तेणु प्रथमे आमे सेटा कलु करना आमे समस्त को डाकिलु कहलु करना देखो तुम चाकरी जीवनी तुम दरमा
समस्त एकाठी कले
या one single call and people didn't believe us. प्रथम दिन जेतला आमे कहिलु
भाबिथिबे कॉल ले बोधे कुआबो जे बहुत डिफिकल्ट टाइम भीतर दे कंपनी जाउची अधा पैसा रे काम करो किछि लोकन को तो छाड़ी देबा को पड़िबो एई धरण रो कथा से मन को नै कि
कहउचंती को किछि करिवे आ किछि so it had to be reinforced. So what we did is that कि सबु 3 दिन ने थरे मंडे थर्सडे पुणी मंडे पुणी थर्सडे same message, assurance not just by people who are senior in the organization but by people who were like even middle management, people who were team leads, people who were new joinees. They all came and said, आपण विश्वास करिबेनी आपण जदि लिंक्डइन को जिबे आमे एप्रिल 3rd वीक रे पोस्ट गोटे रिलीज कलु जो थरे आमे कहिलु आमे काटिबुनी सैलरीज, we will give you enhancements in salaries starting July. We got a lot of hate coverage because of that, because people were cutting everything left, right, center, right? It was not the right intuitive way of doing business.
So people is the 1 P. What about the other 2 Ps?
process. ଦେଖନ୍ତୁ
So this is a great time to refine the process, to rejig the process.
Rejig the process, relearn the process, refresh the process. Refreshing is the most important because you would have definitely designed it with some logic. Most people, when they are treated to follow a certain discipline, after some time they lose steam. Shortcut देखिया को लगता है. It's human nature, right? तेणु आमे कहिलु कोन ना कि आमे सबु process को we will have a relook. We changed 20%. But what happened is...
So whether it was customer acquisition, it was HR, it was IT, you mean all that
no,
process?
First was actually reducing flab in the system. Admin cost, travel cost. You know, other things like, for example, people were doing a lot of get-togethers which didn't make sense. We actually first looked at saying, okay, how do we really improve our financial performance during... माने वित्तीय प्रॉब्लम टाको आपन को सॉल्व करे पड़ियो प्रथमे. तेणु first we looked at cost, then we looked at customer, because customers you can't compromise. If they have got used to a certain degree of service, if the cost is going there, you have to give that, right? Then we looked at suppliers, then we looked at people. So we actually looked at everything from a financial standpoint. जेतले process टा बनाइतला सेतले हम भाबितले operationally केमति simple हो जल्दी कामटा हे जिवो. एबे हमें कहिलु कि एतरे खर्च केते जाउची, and if the खर्च जाउची is it of a strategic nature, then preserve it. जदि खर्चटा बेकार,
Did the customer pay us for it?
Did the customer pay us a premium for it? Because at that time, if you say that, okay, you are just breaking even on a customer cost, then you are not running the right business. So we actually went and revised most of our agreements with both customers as well as suppliers. Wherever we felt that we were not being paid for the service that we were giving them.
Great. So people and process, and let's talk about the third P before we segue into...
We knew equity will dry up. We went after all lenders. देखो आम business रे sir, we have about 3 times leverage, which means that सबु टंका जोटा आमे profit किंबा आमे equity रे निवेश रे उठेलु आमे 3 गुण ताठू तारा debt उठो. Okay, during that time debt had started drying up. Indian markets particularly became very stingy on debt. आमे कोन कलु, we said forget the equity, forget the profitability, it's anyways not coming, right? We will run after debt. All of us, senior management, went down and sat with all lenders, HDFC, ICICI, SBI, कि आमपड़ जहाँ को भी देबे आमे नबा को ready. We were ready to take it at maybe a few more cents to a dollar at a much more unfavorable
so
term.
You wiped off the capital that was available in the market.
Wiped off कहियो नहीं sir, किंतु for our class we were more preferred, and I will give you an anecdote to that. Credit ratings are what are important to financing business, right?
Yes.
When we started COVID, April 2020 एक तारीख रे आमर credit rating थिला BBB. When we ended COVID, which was let's say 31st March 2021, we moved from BBB to BBB plus to A minus to A. There will be some good news in a couple of weeks.
Excellent, excellent, very
Which
nice.
tells you that we became the darling of lenders. What people don't realize when they see all the equity news that is coming about us is that it is built on strong fundamentals of what lenders
But
see.
also, I think one of the things that would have happened in the process is people would have got a very strong signal about your integrity. I think people who lend money in a difficult market like India, it's not so easy. I'm sure they're looking for signals of strong integrity. And integrity at multiple different levels. It's not just the level of saying that I'm going to return your money, but do you run your business with integrity in a completely 360-degree way?
Absolutely.
Conversation is getting a little serious.
तो आपण लाइटेन टिके
हाँ टिके लाइटेन करिया मते गोटे कथा कहतु आपण को संस्था रे जो चीफ फाइनेंस ऑफिसर अछंती जने रुचि कालरा बोली भद्र महिला तांको विषय टे कथा हेबो सो हु इज श्रीमती रुचि कालरा
So Ruchi Kalra is my way better half, and I have to say way better. कारण मु प्रथम थर जेतले ताकू इंट्रोड्यूस करिथिली मु बेटर हाफ कहि देइथिली she took offense to it.
बेटर हाफ हवा गुरु a way better half
way better half होगा
प्रथम कोड देखाइतला
मोर देखा हितला ISB 2007 मसिया रे से ISB रे पढथिले मु जस्ट पास आउट करथिली. I think I met her. She did not quite notice. It took me a while to get noticed.
I can't believe somebody can't take notice of you.
Oh, well, I've grown with time. Let me put it this way.
I like that. So she didn't take notice. Then what happened?
No, but I should tell you, it is difficult to get noticed in our, gender ratios in decent schools. I mean, in my batch, there were like, I think 30 women and 320 boys. So it's difficult to take notice, right? So she didn't take notice, and it had to be McKinsey for us to get united. So जेतल से McKinsey asila, she was in my study, and I used to be this flashy kind of guy, and I still am, but doesn't feel like. But I got noticed, and and time just flew. I think in a year we were hitched, and in a year and a half we were married. So
excellent. So if I were to ask Ruchi about you, what will she tell me? Is she your most vocal critic?
Oh, well, she is. We've realized over a period of time that as long as we are chalk and cheese, it is good for both of us, because then fundamentally respect is there in the relationship. तेणु से कहिबो मते कि जहाँ से करे किंतु से अलगा करू ही better. तेणु I believe the same as well, which is she's great at what she does, right? She's the exact antithesis of me. But at the end of the day, both of us have to coexist, and we have a deep respect for each other.
But what about CEO, CFO disagreements?
CEO, CFO disagreements, to be honest, sir, are very common. They almost happen every single day.
Okay.
But I defer to the CFO.
Okay, good idea. Always a good idea.
Especially given way better half. So, yeah.
आपनकर झियो 6 वर्षर.
आज्ञा 6 वर्ष हब नेक्स्ट मास.
Very nice. झियो विषय टे कहंतु.
मोर सबले सर गोटे झियो ही दरकार थिला. So I was very happy the day she was born, right? So and I believe that girls bring luck, and they give you a phenomenal early 20 years. माने मु जेतल मो सांग मान को देखे जो माने who have kids who are boys, they've had a tumultuous first 2 decades of growing up. तेणु she brings sanity to the house. She's a lot of fun, and she's smart. She's very smart.
What's her name?
Khushi Mohapatra.
Khushi Mohapatra.
तेणु and she gives you stories. She challenges you. देखो तो मु company रा CEO, right? There are very few people in the company who can come and, I mean, while they have the right, they don't use it. किंतु से मते सबु जिंस रे she questions me back. She is actually my biggest critic. एठी कहीं बसचु ए कलर का कहीं पिनचु, like I gained 14 kilos in COVID. She said मोटा है लोनी. Straight in the face, right? I mean, nobody can say that. तेणु
very nice.
I love her for that. And she challenges you at levels like सकाळे उठी के आपण लेट कहीं उठले. नॉर्मल लोक कहिबेनी. किंतु से जदि जल्दी उठी जीव से देखियो कि मु सोईची से कहबो लेट कहीं उठिलु, राति जाय कहीं काम करछु, टाइम रे कहीं ऑफिस रो आसुनु, एते समय कहीं फोन ने कथारता होछु. She brings a huge amount of discipline to your life.
Very
so,
nice,
I guess
very nice. No, we have to take our children very seriously, because they see things that we don't see.
Yeah.
And they're far more intelligent, far more intuitive than we ever can be, because आपण जो परिधि कथा कहिथिले मुळुरु कहिथिले कटक रो परिधि कथा, सीमा कथा कहिथिले, परिधि कथा कहिथिले, तो आमर गोटे परिधि अछि. And as you grow older, you willy nilly you begin to see your limits, and you begin to see your constraints, and they are not children of the constraint, they're children of possibilities. So
in William Wordsworth's words, child is the father of the man.
That's right. So गोटे कथा कहंतु जे 5 वर्ष रे आपण you have created one of the most valuable companies in India today, even globally so. ए 5 वर्ष जो स्मृति जदि आमे मन को आनी बातले निश्चय एमती गोटे दिटा घटना हितिबो which make you laugh wildly, आपन को हसै दिए, ए भलिया किछि घटना टिके हम संग शेयर करंतु.
आपण विश्वास करबेनी जेतोळे आमे आरंभ करथिलु हमर 35 की 36 जण एंजल इन्वेस्टर थिले.
Oh really?
35 36, actually exact number is 36.
Is that a nuisance?
I'll tell you how it didn't become a nuisance. So what we used to do is that आमे जाउथलु कस्टमर्स को पिच करिया पे, लोक माने आमे चाकरी फाकरी छाडी देलु, आमे 20 25 जण जो आरंभ करथिलु, समस्त बॉस माने फोन करी पछातले अरे सुनली तू चाकरी छाडी देलु माने, and we were being paid handsomely at our previous vocations, right? तो समस्त आमे कहलु था आपन को विश्वास होनी, आपन पैसा दियंतु. विश्वास होनी, आपन पैसा दियंतु. In fact, we had 54 angel investors 18 of which we denied. ତେଣୁ 36 ଜଣ ଏଞ୍ଜେଲ ଇନଭେଷ୍ଟର ଆମ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ଥିଲେ. Then it became a pain to actually get them out. Beyond a point, and these were people who were CEOs of companies, right? My boss had obviously become CEO by the time I left. I mean, in over 10 years, 15 years. तांको बाहर करिवा was a pain in the ass. And I think we mastered that, which is how do you really get an investor out of a company? That is art, it's not science. माने सेतरे आपन को real जोगाड़ दरकार. It has to be customized to every individual.
तो हसी दला भलिया कथा कोन तु माने what was your most hilarious moment? 5 वर्ष सबुठु hilarious moment.
I am a great guy at both losing and gaining weight. Okay. So during my time in OfBusiness, ମୁଁ ତିନି थर I have lost in excess of 20 kilos. In excess of, and I put it back very quickly, obviously, right? In my entire life, there have been 6 instances wherein I've lost in excess of 20 kilos. And 20 kilos is a huge number.
Of course.
I mean, 20 kilos just completely changed, right? I remember one incident wherein I mean, now we are a multi-office setup. Our first office was in Trichy, Tamil Nadu.
Sure.
BHL
Institute.
Yeah. I, in fact, went in when I was, 95 kilos or something. I lost about 22 kilos in about 2 to 3 months. And then I went back there. I conducted 2 to 3 meetings in Trichy. Nobody recognized me and I came out. So I can physically really change.
So you can morph.
I can morph myself.
Amazing. Very interesting. You're very unusual because I've met many entrepreneurs. I'm not a stereotype tha je ye left brain loko, ye right brain loko. A certain time in my life came when I got really interested in neuroscience and psychology and the interconnect. I realized that this is too extreme a polarization, saying this guy is a left brain, this guy is a right brain. Actually, most people are both left brain and right brain. But it is usual to see a little bit of difference between the two sides. And very few people are as competent in nurturing their left and their right brain, and you seem to
based
be one
on
of those
situation.
people. So and to give an example of that is, you are so extremely articulate. You are a ex-McKinsey consultant. You've been a venture capitalist yourself. You are working in the intersection of technology, e-commerce, and finance. You don't expect to see this man talk about Abraham Lincoln and talk about history and talk about.
I'm a poet.
Yeah, so
a published poet.
I was going to that. So talk to us about your poetry, and but before you talk to us about your poetry, would you read out a piece of your favorite poem, one of your many favorite poems? I'm sure you have, but would you either recite it loud or would you read it out? I got a copy of your book somewhere here.
So poetry actually began very interestingly for me.
एटा आपनकर 2014 रो प्रकाशित बही
आगे
एथरु बहुत कविता आपनको कैसर रो कविता.
राइट दैट्स राइट.
आपण एथरु आपनको मन छुईला भलिया आपनको भलो लागुची जो कविताटी ते पढी के सुनांत.
ओके मु आपनको एटा कहया को चाहूची कि मु एक्चुअली मु कवि हेली केमिति माने मु कवि तो नुहे. आरंभ रे कोन होतला कि जेतले मु सप्तम की अष्टम श्रेणी रे थिली सेतले माने ओडिया रे ओटे वर्ड अछि कोन ढग ढग माने वर्ड मिसे कि कहिबे. दैट्स हाउ आई स्टार्टेड माने जस्ट राइमिंग वर्ड्स राइट. एंड आई रियलाइज्ड that it's actually a skill which gets people to notice you. तेणु आपण जेतले when you talk in rhymes you get metaphors, people actually give you more attention than they do generally. That's how I started poetry, and over a period of time I mean it's just mane lekhi ki bode I became a poet. But I'll read the first one. Sure. I mean without choice. Kavitar title hela shirshak hela The Wheel mane chakko. It is about my kavitas are all about my observations, and this was when I think I was about 12 to 15 years old. 12-15 वर्ष भितर observation. तेणु कविताटी किछि एमिति. I crave unlike what nature gives, in autumn but green, not falling leaves. In summer I long for the hills, in winter the warm daffodils. माने nature जहाँ दबा को चाहे मु तार उल्टा सब चाहे. जदि ऑटम हुए ताले पत्र गुड़ा पड़ी जाए किंतु मु चाहे पत्र गुड़ा ऊपर जाइए लाखी जाए गछरे. समर रे गर्मी हुए मु चाहे कि मुझे हिल्स बढ़िया ठंडा हो जेतले विंटर हुए मुझे तले वार्म डैफोडिल्स चाहे डैफोडिल्स ता समर रे हुए तेणु मते नेचर जहाँ दउची मु तार उल्टा चाहे द लॉन्गिंग स्वेल्स सो डज द एक अ वॉइस विद इन सेज द क्रेव इज फेक भितरे जो उल्टा जिनसटा नेचर मत जहाँ दरकार से दौनी कि जहाँ मत दौची मत तार उल्टा दरकार मो भितर गोटे लॉन्गिंग आस जाऊँगी जोटा कि मोर हृदय पीड़ाटा बढ़ई दौची राइट तेणु हृदय पीड़ा कौन मते कहला इज द आंसर टू दिस लॉन्गिंग से कहूँ कि समर्स बट अ मेसेंजर ऑफ ऑटम एंड विंटर ऑफ द स्प्रिंग राइम व्हाट यू लॉन्ग फॉर इज नेक्स्ट टू कम अ मेयर स्पोक इन द व्हील ऑफ टाइम से नेचर मते कहूँ कि बापा तू एते ये होना पेन रे रहना मु हेली गोटे चक भलिया आज एठी अच्छी काली जिते बुली जी टिके से ऋतुटा पुणी आसीज तेणु जदि विंटर तू देखुछु विंटर पर निश्चय स्प्रिंग आसीबो सो डोंट वेट फॉर स्प्रिंग डोंट एक फॉर स्प्रिंग इट इज एनीवेज कमिंग स्प्रिंग पर निश्चय समर आसीबो डोंट वेट फॉर इट तेणु लाइफटा गोटे चक भलिया आपण जहाँ पे आपणकर भितर पीड़ा होची इट इज एनीवेज कमिंग नेचर विल गिव इट टू यू तेणु द पोएम एंड्स विथ सो क्रेव नॉट फॉर द स्पोक दैट इज नेक्स्ट फॉर सेल्डम इज द व्हील पुट टू रेस्ट माने जीवन चकटा सेमती सब बेले गड़ी चलची तेणु आपको वेट करवा दरकार इट विल एनीवेज कम
But why did you use the word seldom? I thought the wheel will never stop. Why
for
would-
seldom is the wheel put to rest
Oh, put to rest. Okay.
okay तेणु दिस इज अबाउट पेशेंस दैट वन ऑफ द वर्च्यूज मते लगे कि जोड़ा जीवन रे बहुत दरकार अदर देन द एबिलिटी टू थिंक बिग विच इज स्वप्न द्वितीय है परिश्रम तृतीय है धैर्य यू हैव टू वेट एवरीथिंग विल कम
स्वप्न कथा कहते 2025 स्वप्न देखा 2025 ऑफ बिजनेस विषय कहतु आ 2025 आशीष महापात्र किए
सर 2025 रे आमे एते बड़ हो जाइथु कि वी विल स्टार्ट गिविंग बैक राइट नाउ वी आर एक्यूमुलेटिंग राइट नाउ वी आर बिकमिंग बिग 2025 रे वी विल स्टार्ट गिविंग बैक टू द सोसाइटी वी विल गिव बैक टू आवर एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस वी विल गिव बैक टू आवर स्टेट वी विल गिव बैक टू what made us we would have started giving back for us that is the wheel कि चक्कटा बुली कि जेतले एथरे पळे आसीबो कि आपण एते बड़ हो जाइछन कि आपन को भाबिया को पड़िबो कि आपण देबे एबे that process would have begun
So 2025 is the time of the abundant giving.
yes abundant giving sir mu jani ni but it giving would have started
Abundant is not a quantity or it's not a number. Abundance is a state of mind.
absolutely right sir मोर जो माने people who I looked up to as a kid right you if you remember मु माने मु history पढ़ुतली the guys I used to look up to were Carnegie when he made $1 billion from JP Morgan he gave it away guys I look up to are Bill and Melinda Gates he gave it away Warren Buffett he gave it away
Or Mr. Premji.
Mr. Premji he gave it away
Yeah.
your ex-boss I hear तेणु I believe that you should start giving away when you can give it as you rightly said in abundance एते बड़ हो जाओ कि तापरे दबा बेले ना आपन को किछि लागिवो and you will make a real societal impact
Fantastic. बर्तमान कहतु जे ओडिशा रे बर्तमान जो भविष्यत आशीष महापात्र माने बढ़ुचंती तांकू गोटे सफल उद्योगी होवा पई कौन गुण दरकार से विषय आपनकर कौन उपदेश रहिबो कौन कहिबे समान को So I am a young person. Maybe I am in NIT Rourkela or I am in XIMB here. मोर स्वप्न अच्छी मु आपन को देखुची आपन मते कौन कहिबे what should I do to be able to be a great entrepreneur like you?
well I'm not great yet but sir मोर सब बेले भाबियार एटा कि आपण ओडिया बोली भाबंतुनी आपण भारतीय बोली भाबंतुनी आपण भाबंतु यू आर अ ह्यूमन बीइंग एवरी ह्यूमन बीइंग इज बोर्न विथ द सेम एक्जाक्ट सेट ऑफ चांसेस तो प्रथमे तो आपण निजको सीमित करंतुनी एटा भाबिकी कि आपण गोटे जागा को बिलोंग करंती गोटे कास्ट को बिलोंग करंती गोटे टाइप को बिलोंग करंतु फर्स्ट लेट्स टेक दैट आउट ऑफ द इक्वेशन इफ यू टेक दैट आउट ऑफ द इक्वेशन मु जेतोळे
You are liberating yourself.
you have to liberate yourself you're free you're standing naked in front of the entire world बाजार रे मार्केट रे समस्ते समान सर जदि सेटा हैला मार्केट रे जदि आपण ठिया हिचंती देयर आर only 4 things in my opinion, and I always say this to B school students whenever I go to speak at a B school, that 4 things are important. First is hunger, bhukka. The hunger is defined by how big can you be. ଆପଣ କେତେ ବଡ଼ ଜିନିଷ କରିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି, how badly do you want it, does it put you off sleep? The first one, hunger should be enough that ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଶୋଇବାକୁ ଦେବନି. Second is hustle. It is the opposite of hunger. It should put you to sleep. You should work so hard that you don't have to hit the bed. Your body will find the bed. So first one is hunger, which puts you off sleep. The second is hustle, which puts you to sleep.
And to sleep on any surface.
Any surface. Mane your body will find a surface. Mu ei chair re basik bhi soi pari. You have to work that hard. The third is humility. आपण जदि humble नथिबे, especially during your growing up years, आपण सीखी परिबेनी. For me today, it is an opportunity to learn from you. आपण हेले आम भलिया लोकन पे प्रेरणा. मु आउ का पे प्रेरणा हेबी. I have to be humble. Though I am speaking right now, I look forward to listening to you. That is humility. And it is a multiplicative factor to hunger and hustle. Hunger plus hustle into humility. And the fourth H is honesty. जदि आपण सब किछि ठीक करछन्ती, हंगर ठीक करछन्ती, हसल ठीक करछन्ती, आपण ह्यूमिलिटी भी, किन जदि आपण ऑनेस्ट नुहंती, if you are not honest to yourself, if you are not honest to others, everything is lost. Because that to me is an index power. तेणु मु गोटे फॉर्मूला सब बेले इंजीनियरिंग किंबा बी स्कूल ले कहे कि हंगर प्लस हसल into humility, hold to the power, honesty.
Absolutely.
That is true for all the people, whether they are from Odisha or not. Because first they have to liberate themselves. I think this stereotype of saying that we are in a developing state, our market is small, we have these issues. You have to let go.
Yeah, you end up being over sympathetic towards yourself, and you need to say like आपण जो कहिले जे in the bazaar. Everybody is the same.
Yes, absolutely right. You are a prisoner, if at all, of your mind, of your limbs, and your vital organs. Everybody has the same. It's when we become prisoner of other things that we tend to limit ourselves. I think that is what I would say to anybody who's growing up. And more so true for Odia because it's close to my heart.
केते लागुछ कोन तो ओडिसा आछंती केते फ्रीक्वेंटली आसंती ओडिसा को
सर जतले मोर माँ बापा एठी थिले मु आई यूज्ड टू कम हियर once in every 3-4 months, once a quarter, at least 2 visits a year, maybe 3. तेणु एबे मोर पेरेंट्स तो मो पाखु को पळेले, मो माँ एबे नाहंती, बापा अछंती. I have come after a long time. I have come after 2 years.
I hope that you will come more frequently in the future.
Anytime.
No, beautiful. It was so nice to have you today and बहुत भल लागला. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. आपन को निश्चय आमे आपन को नहीं बहुत आमर गौरव, बहुत आमर गर्व. It's not a question only of becoming a unicorn. It is something much bigger than that, because I think you are creating a template which will inspire thousands of people, and we need North Stars. All of us need North Stars in our life, and we will hold up your story to the thousands of Odia youth, and I'm sure it will be very inspiring. I found my interactions with you very inspiring, so thank you for being here.
Privileged to be talking. Eta more saubhagya ke apna mate dakile.
Thank you.
Thank you.